Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today, and thank you to all of our panelists for joining me. I always feel slightly unusual up here as a Brit, moderating a panel with some incredible leaders of the US federal government. I've lived in this country for 2 years now, and one of the things that has struck me very, very, very profoundly is just the passion for service and for improving the lives of everyday Americans from all of the leaders on this panel and from all of the leaders in this room. I've been fortunate enough to work with lots of different government leaders from around the world, and genuinely the conviction and the dedication to that mission purpose that I see here in the US federal government is truly unmatched. So thank you all for everything you do. Now, we all know that there is a new administration that is very, very hyper-focused on efficiency. But the interesting thing for me is everyone in this room has been focused on efficiency for some time now and has already made significant progress along that path. And so I think that's one of the themes that we're going to be looking at here, as I know the leaders here have been thinking about this for quite some time. So I think we're just going to dive in. So I'm going to kind of work from the far end of the line. I'm going to work back here. So Charles, like a lot of the leaders here, you have already made some great strides on a path to increasing efficiency in everything that you've touched. How do we accelerate on that journey?
Hey, I shouldn't yell, should I? Hey, good morning, everybody. Hey, I was talking to my wife and let her know that I was coming here to speak for you all. And she says, well, are you nervous? And I said, I think terrified or scared to death probably would be the more operable term for the state. By the way, you were supposed to ask me what the data and analytics that the Philadelphia Eagles used for the Super Bowl, their win.
Hold on, I'm looking. I don't have that.
Hey, hang on to that thought. I'll get back to it. As far as accelerated, I actually came up with 4 different questions that I would ask if I was to do acceleration. Question number 1 is why accelerate? I think sometimes you need to know when slow and steady and smooth work for you and when to, in fact, accelerate. You know, I think back to the first Gulf War, and I remember that one of the things they did was the air campaign for, what was it, the first 20 days or so, slow and easy. And then when the ground offensive actually kicked in, you know, it actually made it save lives, save equipment, and everything like that. So know why you want to accelerate and know when to accelerate. I think the second thing that you need to know is what is efficient and what is effective. And I think to accelerate, the first thing you do is look for, hey, what's the nuggets that we could do to be more effective in what we're doing? Get better in your processes. Be 1% better than you were yesterday, 1% better today, 1% better tomorrow. It is that 1% that actually gets you through and gets you better. It's how many golfers do we have in the room? If you're gonna change your golf game, do you try to change it all at once? No, just 1%, and you'll be more effective and you'll accelerate what you're doing. The other thing I thought of was that you need to have a strategy about doing it. A lot of people have strategies in place. Make sure that you stick with your strategy and stay with your strategy and adjust for your strategy to accelerate when you need to. I'm not sure how many of you were Miami Dolphin fans, but the first year that they went to the Super Bowl, they had all kinds of signs up in their locker room that said, get to the Super Bowl, get to the Super Bowl, get to the Super Bowl. They did not change their strategy. They lost the Super Bowl. The next year, the thing was win the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl. So make sure that you have a strategy and that you can adjust for your strategy.
I love that.
The other thing that I think if you really want to accelerate is you as leaders need to listen to your followers. Your followers will get you through. Chances are you just hired some one below whiz kid that knows a whole bunch of different things that were not being used before. Listen to them and put them to work. It's kind of like us. We're doing a couple of, or actually, 2 things with ServiceNow. One is the HR program. The other one's an inspection platform. And when we started doing our inspection platform, everybody else was like at a 5,000 foot level. My brain is at a 30,000 foot level, and the people that we're working with at ICF, they're actually at 60,000 feet level. Those people keep me excited, keep our people excited about what we're doing. So if you're going to accelerate, number one, know why you're going to accelerate, when to accelerate, have a strategy for doing it, stay with that strategy, and follow the people that you have. Hopefully it answered your question.
It does. There's a lot of great stuff there, Charles. I particularly like the piece around there is a big difference between efficiency and effectiveness, right? Because you can be efficient at something that's not effective. So efficiency coupled with effectiveness, that's huge. By the way, I saw a number of my team put their hand up when you said how many golfers. You should have said how many good golfers, and you would have got fewer hands up.
1% better, okay?
Yeah. So now look, there are a lot of tools out there, right, as potential accelerants. Acceleration to move to the cloud, quantum technology, and of course, hyper-automation, AI everywhere. What is helping you the most, and what do you think is going to help federal leaders the most?
So I think, just be realistic about it. I think the fact is that you have to get better, okay? 1% better every day. Look for continuous improvements. Look for how you can improve your processes and so on and so forth. I think in doing that and knowing your product line, your service line, and everything like that, you will see all those tools. You have to pick the tool that works best for you. So to say, hey, one is more important than the other one is the best, I don't think that it's there. Continue to watch how technology evolves. Big conference yesterday on AI. What came out of what Vice President Vance said to the people there. The cloud was, I want to say big 2 years ago, but the cloud is now big and growing and so on and so forth. A lot of opportunities there. So to say one is more than the other, I don't think that that's a real thing to do. You just need to match up what you're doing also with, what other tools are out there. Hey, let's go back to that Super Bowl thing, if I could, for a minute. You take these two questions that he just asked me. You all out here are sitting there in the same spot the Philadelphia Eagles are, okay? We just won the Super Bowl. What you need to say is now, what is it going to take? What are those tools that we can use to, in fact, get us back there next year? So wraps up the two questions.
And look, and it's never done, right? So you've just won the Super Bowl, but if you're going to keep winning again, 1% better, 1% better, 1% better.
Yeah. And you do it data, analytics, AI, everything to get there, okay? It isn't just playing football.
Yeah. Thank you, Charles. I'm going to save this question that we've got here for you at the end. I think I'm going to come back to that, and I'm going to move on now to Kevin and kind of jump in with you. So look, at Deloitte, you advise a lot of different federal leaders, and a lot of what you're doing is how do you balance between driving like short-term efficiency goals and gains, and then also driving innovation. So how do you manage that? How do you advise people on that balance, Kevin?
Yeah, great question, Paul. And I want to tie it to what Charles said, and also what Coach K mentioned. Start with the why. Why are you driving this transformation or initiative? And he also had a really important point around speed to trust. Are you really looking to build trust in your workforce? Are you looking to drive effectiveness? And when we talk about effectiveness, a lot of you have already made a decision in this room. A lot of leaders in this room have said, look, ServiceNow is the AI platform for government efficiency. How do I now drive that across my organization? And you then have to balance that with all the challenges of, organizational change, all the resistance to legacy systems. But again, if you balance that with the speed to trust, and I think we have to challenge our thinking, what has to be different and what has to be true in order to drive those outcomes. As we were discussing in the back, the speed to change right now is moving at a clock speed that is so much faster than we've ever seen before. The things that we're trying to achieve are the things we've been trying to achieve for years. But the way that we're going to play, the way that we're going to go to market, and the way that we're going to deliver impact and outcome is fundamentally different. And I think that's where the power of ServiceNow, plus the partners, and the extended ecosystem are accelerators for really driving results for our government clients. That's so, so important because we can incorporate the lessons learned that we take from one client, bring it over to another, and then boom, we have success.
Yeah. And just like you and I were talking about at the back, there is to a certain extent nothing new under the sun, but what is new is that clock speed of change, right? That test and learn and that iteration piece. Can you, to the extent you can you bring this to life with a particular example that's on your mind?
Sure. When we think about enterprise asset management, it's really looking at the entire enterprise, your OpEx, your capital expenditures, and this is something where you have to get the right level of transparency and clarity to really make informed data-driven decisions.
Yeah.
So with one of our clients in the national intelligence community, we've achieved this. And really, it's making sure that you have a comprehensive solution. Again, as Coach K said, speed to trust. You need a platform, a solution, and a capability that's going to build trust in your organization. If you don't have that trust, you're going to lose your ability to scale. Scale is where you're going to be able to drive impact. When you have that impact across your organization, now you're achieving your strategic goals as well as your effectiveness and efficiency goals.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Yeah. It makes perfect sense. Now, you and I, we've been talking here, looks like for about 4.5 minutes, and we haven't really mentioned AI yet in this particular dialogue. And so even 12 months ago, I would have been up here and I would have been talking with all of you and I would have been talking about generative AI and how we're going to put generative AI to work and what are the efficiencies that we can derive from that. That seems a little bit quaint now as well. And now everything is agentic, agentic, agentic. So how do you see agentic AI in particular affecting the federal government?
I see it as a force multiplier. It's something that can drive greater effectiveness in the workforce. And what we heard around generative AI, there were all concerns about workforce reductions and things of that nature. This actually allows you to upskill, do your job better, and actually derive a better outcome. And I think this is something that we don't do an effective job enough in the public sector. We have to demonstrate where you can really drive additional impact with agentic AI. We've seen in commercial scenarios, again, this is a clock speed equation, where we can take processes that took weeks and months down to hours and days. Once we can effectively deploy that in a public sector environment, I think the realization of that value is immediately seen and internalized.
Yeah. I'm thinking of one internal example inside ServiceNow where we've got an internal help desk for a particular finance function. And the SLA has gone from 4 days down to, I think we're now solving problems in 90 seconds. Now, it doesn't mean that those resources are going away, but it does mean that I'm now applying those resources to the many other problems that we all have out there to fix. So totally agree.
And candidly, that also frees up the workforce to do the work that they're truly passionate about.
Yes.
Think about that. A platform that allows people to focus on the things that are most impactful for the mission and the things that they're most passionate about. I would think job satisfaction, retention, all follow that.
Completely. Now, Kevin, I'm going to come back to you for a final question at the end, but I'm going to move on to Michael now. So, Michael, at Naval Sea, you are responsible for an incredibly complex landscape, more than 1,000 applications, 168 different systems. So, how do you manage this to ensure simplicity, efficiency, and not get lost in the complexity?
First of all, thank you for having me today. I always like to start to tell you who I am and what I do. So I am here because I support every carrier, submarine, and surface fleet in the United States Navy. If you see them, Naval Sea is responsible for sustaining or building and creating them. So with all these applications and systems, under Vice Admiral Downey and Mr. Miller, our new ED, we're kind of looking at a focusing of one date. 698 days from now is the Davidson window. And so what this complexity does for us is it does not let us get that force generation that we need in place. So what we're doing right now in a couple places is we're taking a very strong look of all our processes, all our key elements. How do we increase effectiveness and efficiency? We've talked about this over and over again. So the workflows themselves. Can we get rid of these legacy environments that have been there for years? Can we move people to high-value organizations and then eventually hopefully get the AI and other tool sets in there. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the IT, it's us actually building ships or making sure those ships are deployable anywhere in the world. The CNO has said 80% mission ready capable. So we're very focused around that capability and bringing the right tools in place. So it should not take us 48 months to do a contract. It should not take us time to bring people on with the right skill sets. With simplifying it and effectiveness. So there is a lot of prioritization. I will also tell you there is a lot of folks that are crying as I take their tools away. It's a little bit brutal at times, but we got to have that conversation. We have a short time frame, and we have to accelerate, and we have to be aggressive, and that's really what we're doing as part of that conversation as we move forward.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. Now, look, you also played a massive role in NavSea's digital strategy, so connect, decide, and then secure and survive. So how did you develop this strategy, and how is it helping with everything you were trying to do, describing to us earlier?
Yeah. So I'll be brutally honest with you. My flags and SESs come in, and the sales folks give them buzzwords left and right, right?
We like our buzzwords.
Yes.
And acronyms. We love those.
And what we were trying to do with the strategy was to simplify it. Connect, we're bringing information to the point of need. Decide, we're taking that information and we're transferring it into a decision so someone could do something in the shipbuilding or ship generation world. And then we want to make sure that information is secure as a transfer so you can trust it in ComSeas and then survive that cyber event. And so that really what we tried to do there was lay it out so when someone comes in and says, hey, I have this new tool or this new capability, that you can come in and say, hey, I'm here because I want to talk to you about how we connect your information for your IoT devices or to something else or in the decide space. We're here to help you modernize your workflow with ServiceNow or other low-code devices. So it's helping us put that in place. And it's about that common language that we have in place so everyone understands. It is very confusing for flags that only have 5 to 6 minutes to make a decision. And everyone's coming in saying, I got this whiz-bang tool. Where does this fit in my enterprise? What can I do? And that also helps us as we move forward on this conversation.
I love the fact that you can kind of ladder everything up to, is this under connect? Is this under decide? And it just helps frame the decision making that you're doing.
And to follow up on that, we are at Nav Sea, you're going to see a rollout of the level of effort campaigns, which is actually very focused on these kind of scoops, and we're actually bringing in more. So if you've seen the Surface Warfare Center, we rolled it out. If you go to the Nav Sea webpage, you will see the LOEs. I own 2 of them with my team, which one is data analytics, about predictive analytics, but it's also decision making, and then critical infrastructure too.
And now, are you managing to accomplish all of this with common off-the-shelf technology, or are you having to customize significantly to get done what you need to get done?
So this is where I probably get in trouble. So for a long time, we've talked about COTS, right? You all know what we do is we take COTS, we take those COTS tools and transform them into GOTS. We take our processes and we just don't want to make change. So one of the reasons that I am very over-enthusiastic about low-code, no-code solutions and workflows themselves is we're going to take that competitive question of 5 whys. Why are we doing this, like with Charles said? Why do we do this? Use those workflows to get the best of it, and then eventually move to a COTS tool. The other part of the conversation we had with Paul was there's only 2 ways to do IT in the federal government. Quick and fast within 6 months, or a 6-year process of trying to grind through everything. I've done both. I much prefer the 6 months. The scars from the 6 years, it's harder. So as we move to like low-code, no-code solutions versus trying to take the big bang with the COTS, the ERP solutions, that's where we're trying to get that focus back on, once again, about outcomes. Our outcomes is how can I get more ships to sea and submarines and carriers. That's what we're talking about.
And then, so look, and that makes perfect sense, and I much prefer 6 months to 6 years as well. So you've got a strategy, you're executing. What advice do you have for the room in terms of how you found the best way of measuring progress, measuring success when it comes to those projects?
I wish I had the right answer. So some of it is actually the Walmart effect. My old boss, Admiral Richmond, used to say, you knew it was a good day when you see someone in Walmart and you actually came up and talked to them versus running the other way. So we're getting some of that flow of folks coming in saying, hey, we saw you do this. Thank you. Can you do this for us? That's the informal way. And then, of course, the other one is outcomes don't matter. Outcomes don't care about what you KPIs. They care about what we're doing. So you're going to see in Nav Sea, there's a lot of progress about delivery of ships and moving forward. We're making that impact as we move forward.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. Thank you. So I'm going to put one final question to all of our panelists here before we wrap. I'm going to start again with you, Charles. So, look, you've had various leadership roles in some very senior positions, Air Force, and of course now within the Office of the Naval Inspector General. In all of those roles, you've driven significant change. What is your approach to change management and then implementing these efficiencies? Because the technology can change, but there are some fundamentals around how you actually drive organizational change.
I don't really have an answer to that, but thanks for asking. Seriously, I think first of all, being wedded or really into core values and living up to those core values. And I go back to my Air Force days: service before self, excellence in all you do, and integrity. You know, that's what sustains me. The other thing that really leads to success, and I think in everything overall, is being one step ahead of technology as it develops and being excited to see it happen and work with it. I remember taking statistics, and everybody hates statistics. I don't care who you are, you hate statistics class. But I loved it because there's a fascination for watching things fit together as far as math and numbers and things like that. And I think that that's the way we need to be with technology. It's going to come. We just need to be fascinated and excited to see it happen. And I think that that's what will carry people through.
I love that, Charles. I love that. It's going to happen, so be excited about it to get ahead of it. Okay. Kevin, same question to you, really. We've got a lot of leaders here in very senior roles wrestling with significant amounts of change and a tsunami of technology change happening as well. Any advice?
So a couple of thoughts come to mind. First, ServiceNow has made a tremendous investment in the platform. And I think it's absolutely critical to plug into the partners in the ecosystem to really unlock the value of the platform. Then you have to have a clear articulation in your organization around what success looks like or should look like, and really unlock that potential. I think having a good narrative around the value creation that the ServiceNow platform can bring, not talking about the specific aspects of the technology right out of the gate, but there is a tremendous amount of potential there as well. ServiceNow has invested a tremendous amount in public sector bespoke solutions that can address some of the specific needs in this room. But that's not enough because, again, going back to Coach K, it's speed to trust.
Yeah.
And to build that trust, you have to demonstrate and deploy credible capabilities. And that's what we refer to as speed, scale, and then you derive insight. Then that allows executives and leaders to really understand what's moving the needle in their respective organizations, be it innovation, effectiveness, or efficiency.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. And look, and so thank you for the partnership as well. And I can absolutely affirm that for ServiceNow, this is going to continue to be the single biggest focus and investment area for our business in terms of the US federal government. So we are all in to support every single person in this room. And then Michael, I'm going to give the last word to you again. Any final pieces of advice? Lots of change, drives to efficiency, technology landscape changing all the time. Any final parting comments?
So there has to be that sense of urgency. There has to be that alignment. And you can't forget about the people. Not everyone's going to come along with you on that journey, but you're going to have to focus. And so once you get the folks to buy into that vision and that capability and that mission, you'll be amazed what they'll do. I've never met more, both the private sector, public sector, our allies. There's something important we do. And so buying into that mission and bringing that technology and making their lives a little bit easier, saving them that 5 minutes of paperwork every day because you've moved away from email and PDF to a workflow system that actually works, makes a difference. And when they're doing what they need to do to be successful, our organizations are successful. So urgency, alignment, and continue to remember the hardest problem is not the technology, it's the people.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there.
That's beautifully said, Michael, and I think that's a perfect place to kind of draw this panel session to a close. So Please give a massive round of applause, please, to Richard, Michael, Kevin. Thank you very much. And thank you all for joining me here today. Thank you.